Hey there, we're live. This is the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel, and I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. That should probably be pretty obvious. I just got home from church, and before I put my sweats back on, I thought I would actually do a live. So one of these days, I'm going to get organized and let you know ahead of time when I'm going live so you can join me. I'm going to be looking over there where my other monitor is to see who's joining me and if anybody's posting comments. But so for those of you who are brand new to my channel, my goal is to save you time and money, basically, by giving you the scoop on filmmaking quality and content so you can decide if you want to watch a particular film. So today I wanted to tell you about a movie that I think has flown under the radar for a lot of people. It's called The Annihilation of Fish, which is a great title, right? It is a unique dramedy by Charles Burnett, and this film was lost and just recently restored in 4K by the UCLA Film and Television Archive and the Film Foundation in collaboration with Milestone Films. It is now playing in select theaters. The film is rated R, and I'll give you some tips for parents here in just a minute. It's an hour and 48 minutes long, and my overall movie review mom grade is a B plus. And I'm going to tell you why I gave it that score. But first, I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked, then things I didn't like. I'll offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and then we'll finish up with recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also really like. All right, so in a nutshell, the film was directed, as I mentioned, by Charles Burnett, winner of an Honorary Academy Award for his lifetime achievement, which is awesome. It's amazing that this film has never been released until now. I mean, really just a couple of weeks ago. And that was just shortly after the loss of our beloved actor, James Earl Jones. And so if you're missing him, this is such a great opportunity to see him in something new. It has taken decades to get this film to theaters. It was actually filmed in 1999. The movie is based on a short story by Anthony C. Winkler. It's about an eccentric Black man from Jamaica, who's played by James Earl Jones beautifully, and then a white elderly woman who's played by Redgrave, who also does a fantastic job. And they both struggle with mental health issues. So the quirky film won Best Cinematography and Best Feature by several film festivals. So quick tips for parents. It is rated R for some good reasons. First of all, kids are going to be completely bored. It's old people, for the most part, talking. Right? There is some profanity, and we see an unmarried couple in bed getting frisky under the covers several times with movement and sound effects, and you just don't want your kids seeing any of that stuff. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well are mental illness, romance, which this movie is also, love, aging, race, killing people's dreams, the invisible demons we all battle, humanity, caring for others, and tolerating other people's eccentricities. And that's what this whole movie is all about, really. So here's the long list of things that I really like. First of all, James Earl Jones. He plays this Jamaican immigrant who constantly fights with an imaginary man named Hank. We have never seen such physicality in a performance by James Earl Jones before, and he is just delightful. You're going to love seeing him again. Lynn Redgrave plays a woman who believes that the dead opera composer Giacomo Puccini was in love with her and that they were living in sin together because no one would perform their wedding ceremony. She loves him. She walks around town with him, and she tries to get married several times, but they're like, the law requires you to actually marry someone in their corporal state, and so she's heartbroken and then breaks up with him and moves from San Francisco to LA, which is where she meets James Earl Jones's character. And it's not love at first sight. It's kind of a fun evolution of their relationship. Margot Kidder is almost unrecognizable. She offers an additional eccentric character. Pretty much everybody in this movie is. I also got a kick out of the mailman who stumbles on the steps of the apartment building every day as he brings mail. The imaginary demons that these two leading actors battle provide entertaining and heartbreaking moments for viewers, as well as personal reflection to ask, everybody is quirky in their own way. I am. I absolutely recognize that. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I think when you reach that level of maturity, it's okay if people don't like you. Of course, I still always want everybody to like me, subscribe, like, all of that kind of stuff. We get to spend some time in San Francisco and Los Angeles. We see more of the city when we're in San Francisco, and we really only see this apartment building mostly when we're in Los Angeles. Award-winning Martin Scorsese described this film as, quote, beautiful and delicate, which I thought that second word, delicate, was an interesting choice of words. The movie feels a bit unconventional, which may be a plus for those who enjoy thought-provoking stories with offbeat characters. And there's a lot of humor offered in amusing dialogue and situations. It does a fantastic job of balancing the humor with the more serious drama. Now, some people have said they watched this in the theaters when it first premiered and they just were rolling on the floor. But I have a hard time sometimes laughing when I know someone has mental health issues. You know what I mean? And so I kind of was going back and forth as to, is this really funny or is it just a situational humor type of thing or what? Let me know what you think. If you see this or if you have seen it, comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. While the movie The Annihilation of Fish might not have garnered widespread attention, it definitely has a certain cult classic appeal due to its quirky narrative and exploration of themes like family dynamics, personal freedom, and identity. The surreal elements and unpredictable nature of the film may not be for everyone, but those who appreciate films that take risks with their storytelling may find it an intriguing watch. In the title, The Annihilation of Fish, I think is both metaphorical and symbolic, and it plays a significant role in setting the tone for the film's themes of self-discovery, emotional unraveling, and transformation. And while the movie's plot itself is quirky and surreal, the title, I think, refers to the inner conflict and emotional destruction that the main character, Fish, undergoes as there's a confrontation of constraints of the inner life and of the past. Now, I'm going to look over here to see if anybody's joined me or left comments. I don't see any comments yet, but again, comment because I always love to hear your take on some of these movies. Now, onto the list of things that I didn't like. This definitely will not be everyone's cup of tea. Some viewers might be a little afraid to laugh at some of the mental health issues, as I mentioned, or they might just get tired of all the crazy antics that occur in the movie, knowing that it might be over the top and not realistic or just too much. So I wrote down funny lines and interesting lines, and I always have them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. You can check them out there. But I'll share some of them with you right now. So for funny lines, there's this moment where I mentioned Lynn Redgrave is trying to get married to the ghost of her husband, who she says is her husband, this famous Italian opera star. Anyway, and so she's standing at this kind of new age center trying to get married, and there are these hippies, and one of the hippie ladies says, things just haven't been right on planet Earth since Richard Nixon was elected president. And that's when you kind of are like, wow, everybody in this movie is kind of a nutcase. She was played by Shannon Wilcox. And then somebody says something, and Lynn Redgrave's character, whose name is Poinsettia. Actually, her name is Flower, but she says everybody calls her Poinsettia. Anyway, and so something happens, and she says, I'm never laughing again as long as I live. Which is very dramatic, which is how most of these characters are. And then there's a character whose name is Mrs. Muldoon. She's played beautifully by Margot Kidder. And she says she's kind of the landlord of this apartment building. And when somebody new moves in, she always asks them Do you have any insidious vices I should know about? And of course, she does. Well, I wouldn't call them insidious, but everybody has their quirks and their funny things about them in this. Oh, and then this was a cute conversation. So this guy kind of bumps into Poinsettia. They're at a bar, and he looks at her and he says, "Oh, excuse me, I thought you were someone else." And then she says, "I used to be." And I thought that that was kind of funny. Anyway, I'm looking at some of the other lines. Oh, this was a really sweet conversation. It was funny, but it was also insightful. So Mrs. Muldroon is having a conversation, and people are getting a little frustrated about being old and body parts not working and things not working well for them in life. And so she changes that attitude and puts it on its head. And she says, I can hardly wait to wake up each morning to see what's going to happen next, because you never know with this crazy crowd what is going to happen next. And then I thought this was an interesting line. James Earl Jones is talking to somebody about being lonely. And he says, I'd die before I'd laugh at anyone's loneliness. And you see all of these people who are surrounded by other people, and they are lonely. And you can be in a crowd and still be very lonely. And so the sweet part of this movie is when these disparate, lonely people find each other and find people who are willing to tolerate their craziness and their quirkiness, and it helps them to not feel so alone in the world. And that's very, very sweet. And then we get even romance on top of the friendship. Now, before we go, let me share some movies that are sort of similar that I instantly thought of as I was watching this one. The first one is called The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That one came out in 2004. All of these movies actually have to do with mental illness and quirky characters, but again, coming together in a spirit of community and support. And so another one is Little Miss Sunshine, which came out in 2006. Very quirky characters as well. And then probably maybe one of the most well-known movies about mental illness is called A Beautiful Mind. Now, this man starts off fine, but he slowly starts to lose himself and disappear into mental illness. And it just is so well acted, so well written. So I thought you might enjoy that one as well. All right, looking again to see if anybody left a comment. Nope, you guys are being super quiet. I found that when I do lives, I talk way too long, so I'm going to end this one. But thank you for spending time with me. Be sure and check out my reviews as well as my lives. And I'm not sure if everybody's finding everything because I've been bouncing between the two. Anyway, have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.